to see here. I swear that makes it look so easy. Welcome back, awesome people, to Cocktails and Consoles. It's Melissa, and yes, I know everyone cosplays as Tifa when it comes to Final Fantasy VII. But hey, she's the bartender. If I didn't dress as her, that previous joke would have no weight. Yes, the remake we have finally been waiting decades for is here. Final Fantasy VII. And similar to a lot of you, I was ready to hate it. In my mind, there was no way a remake could even come close to the brilliance that was the original. Well, let me tell you something, they knocked my socks off. This remake is... God, there's no words for it. You can tell it was made by people who actually love the content. There's tons in there to reward the people who have played it before. And even if you haven't played it before, it's still a very coherent story. Even more so now because there's less aimless running around and no more reading! Seriously, hats off to them for making that game far more linear and a lot more streamable. Yes, we will be streaming Final Fantasy VII. I don't know if we're gonna wait until the second chapter has come out. Unfortunately, this game is gonna be done in sequence releases, which normally I'm not a fan of because no one ever commits to a release schedule. That's one of the biggest issues with these kind of games. But if this is their way of getting the content out to us faster, I'm okay with that, for now. In honor of the release, of course we had to make a cocktail that was materia themed. And I could think of no better materia than my boy Ifrit. I know he's not everyone's most favorite summons, but he's definitely mine. Much like the game, this cocktail is going to have pretty high production value, so you don't have to go to this length if you don't want to. You can just assemble the drink and enjoy it as it is. But if you want to razzle-dazzle some people at your next Final Fantasy VII party, whenever we're allowed to have parties again, have I got a trick for you. But of course, we have to introduce our starting lineup. For this drink, you're going to need blood orange flavored gin. If you can't find this, pretty much any kind of gin will work. Amaro Montenegro. I'll explain what this is in a second. A little bit of simple syrup, some Peychaud's bitters, your run-of-the-mill vodka, and a little bit of club soda. And this, well, we'll explain what this is for in a minute. So before we get into this drink, let's talk a little bit about what Amaro is. Because if you're like me, chances are you probably haven't encountered this outside of a speakeasy style bar. So Amaro is part of the bitter aperitif family. You probably encountered versions of this such as Fernet, Cynac, and Campari when that was weirdly popular in the early 2000s. Now, this bitter aperitif can run pretty much a wide range of flavors, everything from freshly cut grass to bitter orange flavored. And when I say bitter orange, I do mean bitter orange. It's like eating the whole orange, pith and all. There is going to be a very sorbic quality to this, but it's going to do wonders for your drink. There really is no standard naming convention unless it comes out of Italy. Anything out of Italy that is an orange bitter aperitif will be called Amaro. But even with this, there's a pretty wide range of flavors. I tend to like Amaro Montenegro. It costs a little bit more, but there's a bit more sweetness to it. The bitter quality isn't as strong in this, so it's not going to be the first and last thing that you taste. So now before we get into the hardware of this drink, let's get the software together. So we're gonna start with equal parts of our blood orange gin, about an ounce, and an ounce of vodka. Generally, I'm not a big fan of making a drink completely out of gin. I think it's too strong for most people unless you've been drinking gin for quite a while. I love for it to add a little bit of a highlight rather than tasting like you just licked a Christmas tree. And then 3/4 of an ounce of our Amaro Montenegro, a dash of simple syrup just to sweeten it up a bit, and then a couple of good shots of the Peychaud's. This will help give us the color and a nice aromatic effect. Now, if you are under 21 or drinking just isn't your thing, you can always make this with non-alcoholic versions. For that, I recommend basically any kind of red soda and club soda. So now that we have this, we're gonna give this a good stir. We're gonna need this as cold as possible for what comes next. Now, in order to make this materia shape, we're going to need a hollowed out circular ice cube. To make this, all you need are the circular ice cube molds. Put water in there, let it freeze for about an hour, then poke something through the top where the water goes in and drain out the water. That way you're left with just the hull of our ice cube. We did something similar to this when we did our Star Wars cocktail. Now we're gonna have to move pretty fast because this glass is not very cold. So to help make sure we keep things in place, we're gonna take a little cocktail skewer and just stick it in the top. Now we're going to take our mix and using a cooking syringe, fill up our syringe, and then fill our sphere. Now, if your sphere breaks on you like it looks like this one did, that's fine. It took me about 4 to hold together to do the thumbnail, but the process is still the same. And then take your club soda and fill up the rest of the glass. Actually, it doesn't look too bad for how this came out. If you find that it's not red enough for your liking, what you can do is you can tint the water red before you put it into the sphere molds, because then it'll help make it even more red. And then just flip your orb over and give it a stir to mix the drink. Cheers! That's really good. The gin is nicely balanced with a little bit of the sugar. The bitters give it a really nice nasal quality. I'm getting orange with just a little bit of the bitter aftertaste. It's quite nice. For as ragey as Ifrit may seem, I kind of have a feeling he might be a little bit of a cocktail snob. I think Amaro might be his drink. If you'd like to see more cocktails and drinks based on your favorite characters from Final Fantasy VII, let me know down below which ones you'd like to see. Coming up soon, we're going to be making our own Final Fantasy themed cupcakes called Golden Chocobo. Don't worry, those are completely non-alcoholic. If you'd like to have that added to your playlist, hit the subscribe button down below and give me a thumbs up if you happen to enjoy this video or my horrible attempts to catch a cocktail shaker. I'm also curious to know what you guys have thought of the Final Fantasy VII Remake so far, and would love to know who your final 4 are when you go up against Sephiroth. Right now, I am powering through all the pieces with Aerith, because, yeah, not my favorite. Hashtag Team Tifa. Hey, come on, you can't blame me. I spent all game gearing her up just to have her turned into a freaking shish kebab. Look, I've got nothing against Aerith. She's a lovely character. I know she's supposed to be so special and woo, best healer. No, not in my party. We will be streaming Final Fantasy VII here soon on Friday, so if you'd like to check that out, hit the subscribe button down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you, awesome people, in the next video. Cheers!